Single cleaner mom was fired for bringing her twins to work until the young billionaire showed up and changed everything. Monica woke to the sound of coughing coming from the girls' room. It was 5:30 in the morning, and the alarm clock hadn't even gone off yet. She rushed to the small room where Emma and Claire slept in bunk beds. Both were awake, Emma with a flushed face and Claire squirming under the covers. "Mommy, I don't feel good," Emma murmured, her voice hoarse. Monica touched her daughters' foreheads, hot, very hot. Claire was even worse, shivering even under 2 blankets. "My tummy hurts," Claire whimpered. Her blonde hair stuck to her sweaty forehead. Monica glanced at the clock. In 2 hours, she needed to be at the company to start cleaning before the employees arrived. Working as a cleaner meant strict hours. The offices had to be spotless when the executives arrived at 9. She called the babysitter, but it went straight to voicemail. She tried 2 more times, nothing. "Damn," she whispered, running a hand through her hair. The girls looked at her with their big, identical light blue eyes, waiting for their mother to solve everything as she always did. They were like 2 miniature versions of each other, blonde and delicate, but now pale and clearly sick. Monica ran through the options in her head. She had no family in the city. The few friends she had also worked early. She couldn't miss a day. She had missed one last week when Claire had a stomachache, and Mr. Davidson had already made it clear that he wouldn't tolerate any more absences. "Listen, girls," she said, kneeling beside the bed. "You're going to have to come to work with me today, just for today, okay?" Emma grimaced. "But I'm sick, Mommy." "I know, sweetie. I'll give you some medicine, and there's a little room at the office where you can rest while Mommy works." Claire started to cry softly. "I want to stay in my bed." Monica felt her heart ache. She knew it wasn't ideal to take sick children to work, but she had no choice. It was either this or get fired. She gave them both medicine, dressed them in warm, comfortable clothes, and filled a bag with more medicine, a thermometer, some quiet toys, and crackers. The bus ride was a nightmare. Emma rested her head on her mother's shoulder and slept. But Claire stayed awake, complaining that she felt nauseous. Monica prayed they wouldn't throw up on public transport. The building where she worked was in the city's financial district, a 20-story glass tower full of important companies. Monica had been cleaning the offices of Hartwell and Associates on the 12th floor for almost 2 years. It wasn't her dream job, but it paid the bills and had fixed hours. "Morning, Monica," greeted Steve, the building's security guard. He paused when he saw the girls. "They're not in school today. They're a little sick. They'll just be with me for today." Steve made a concerned face but just nodded. Monica took the service elevator with her cleaning cart and the girls. The Hartwell and Associates office took up half a floor, with individual rooms for the managers, an open area for the assistants, a conference room, and a small break room. Monica knew every corner. She set up Emma and Claire in the file room, which had an old armchair and was quiet. She laid out blankets she brought from home, gave them more medicine, and left water and crackers within reach. "Stay here quietly, okay? If you need anything, call for me softly." The girls nodded, too exhausted to protest. Monica started her usual routine, emptying the trash cans, vacuuming the offices, wiping down the desks, organizing the papers that were left scattered. She worked quickly and silently, always checking on the girls every 15 minutes. Around 8:30, the employees started to arrive. Monica was in the break room washing the sink when she heard Mr. Davidson's familiar voice in the hallway. James Davidson was the company's general manager, a short, bald man in his 50s who was always in a bad mood. He treated Monica with cold politeness, but she knew he saw her as just an invisible employee. "Good morning, Mr. Davidson," she greeted as he passed the break room. He just grumbled a reply and continued to his office. Monica was finishing cleaning the bathrooms when she heard voices coming from the file room. Her heart leaped into her throat. She rushed over and found Mr. Davidson standing in the doorway, looking at Emma and Claire, who were awake and playing quietly with some toys. "Monica," he said, his voice icy, "can I speak with you?" "Of course, Mr. Davidson." They went to his office. Monica stood in front of his desk, her hands sweaty. "Would you care to explain why there are 2 children in the file room?" "They're my daughters, sir," They're sick, and I had no one to leave them with today. It's just for today. I promise it won't happen again." Mr. Davidson sat behind his desk, his fingers steepled. "Monica, this is a serious company. It is not a daycare center." "I understand, sir, but do you understand?" He leaned forward. "Because it seems to me you don't understand anything. First, you miss work without proper notice. Now you bring children into the office. This is completely inappropriate." Monica felt her face flush. "Sir, I only missed 1 day this month, and I gave advance notice. My work always gets done, and there have never been any complaints about the cleaning. It doesn't matter. You can't separate your personal and professional life. How can I trust someone who can't even handle her family matters?" The words stung more than Monica expected. "Mr. Davidson, please. I need this job. I'm a single mother and that is precisely the problem." He opened a drawer and pulled out some papers. "You think more about your daughters than your work. That doesn't work here." "But sir," "I'm letting you go, Monica. You can collect your things and leave. HR will process your paperwork." The world seemed to stop. Monica stared at Mr. Davidson, who had already turned his attention back to the papers on his desk, as if she had already left the room. "I understand," she managed to say. In the supply closet, Monica gathered her few personal belongings: a coat, the picture frame with the girl's photo, some products she had bought with her own money. Everything fit into a plastic bag. The employees who had arrived pretended to be busy, but she could feel their stares. Maria, the cleaner from the floor above, gave her a sympathetic look as their eyes met. In the file room, Emma and Claire were still where she had left them. Emma was asleep, curled up in the armchair, while Claire was flipping through a coloring book. "Mommy," Claire murmured. "Are you done with work?" "Yes, sweetie. We're leaving." Monica helped the girls get up and gathered their things. They were weak and confused, leaning on her to walk. Leaving the building was torture. With every step, Monica felt the weight of reality. No job, no income, with 2 young daughters and bills coming due. Outside, the cold morning air hit her face. It was a grey autumn day, with the kind of chill that cuts through your clothes. The girls shivered beside her. Monica looked at the busy street. People hurried to work, cars passed by. Life went on as normal for everyone else, except for her. Her legs gave out. She sat down on the sidewalk right in front of the building, pulling Emma and Claire into her lap. The girls settled against her, one on each side, their little blonde heads resting on their mother's chest. "Mommy, are you sad?" Emma asked, noticing something was wrong. Monica couldn't answer. Everything was falling apart. The rent was due in 10 days. She had $40 in her wallet and maybe $200 in her account. The girls needed medicine, food, winter clothes. How had it come to this? When the girl's father disappeared 2 years ago, Monica thought she could handle it. She got this job, a small but clean apartment, a routine that worked. It worked for a while. But being a single mother was like spinning plates. One unexpected crisis, and everything came crashing down. Tears began to stream down her face. She held her daughters tighter, feeling their breathing still a little ragged from the fever. "I just wanted to give you a decent life," she murmured, more to herself. Emma lifted her little head and touched her mother's face. "Don't be sad, Mommy. We're going to be okay." The innocence in her daughter's voice broke Monica's heart. How could a 5-year-old be so sure? Claire shifted, looking for a more comfortable position. "When we get home, can I have that yummy medicine?" "You can, sweetie." Monica closed her eyes. She needed to come up with a plan. Maybe she could find day cleaning jobs. But how much did they pay? Would it be enough? And who would watch the girls? The sound of traffic seemed distant. People walked by without a second glance, each lost in their own problems. Monica had never felt so invisible. That's when she heard a car braking. A door slammed, and footsteps approached. Monica opened her eyes and saw a pair of expensive black shoes stopped in front of her. She looked up and met the gaze of a young man, about 30, wearing an impeccable dark suit. Brown hair, green eyes, and an expression of genuine concern. "Excuse me," he said, crouching down to her level. "Are you all okay? Do you need help?" Monica quickly wiped her tears. "We're fine, thank you." But Claire chose that moment to cough, and Emma whimpered softly. The man took in the scene, a young woman on the sidewalk with two clearly sick children in her lap, bags around her, eyes red from crying. Are they sick? "Just a cold. It'll pass." He studied her face for a moment. "Look, there's a coffee shop on the corner. It's warm inside, and they look like they're cold." Monica hesitated. She didn't know this man, and she had learned to be cautious. "No need, really. Please," he insisted, "at least let's get you off this sidewalk. It's too windy." There was something in his voice that reassured her. It wasn't pity. It was kindness. "Okay," she said. "Just until they warm up." The man smiled and helped Monica to her feet, carrying her bag while she held onto the girls. His car was nearby, a black sedan that looked expensive. "I'm Ryan," he said, opening the back door. "Monica, and these are Emma and Claire." "Hi, girls," Ryan said softly. Emma murmured a "hi," and Claire looked at him with her feverish blue eyes. The coffee shop was small and cozy, smelling of fresh bread. Ryan chose a table in the corner, away from the hustle and bustle. "What would you like to drink?" "Hot chocolate for the girls." Emma and Claire nodded shyly. Monica just asked for a coffee. When Ryan returned with the drinks, the girls already seemed better in the warm environment. Claire even smiled when he placed the hot chocolate in front of her. "Thank you," Monica said. "You didn't have to do this." "Of course I did. No one should have to go through that alone." The sincerity in his voice surprised Monica. She was used to indifference or superficial pity, but Ryan seemed genuinely interested in helping. "May I ask what happened?" Monica looked at her daughters, who were blowing on their hot chocolate to cool it down. For some reason, maybe because she had nothing left to lose, she told him everything. The cleaning job, the sick girls, getting fired, the feeling of being lost. Ryan listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was silent for a moment, stirring his coffee. "How old are you?" 27. "And how long have you been working as a cleaner?" "About 4 years. "Why?" Ryan studied her for a moment. "I want you to work at my house. It's not charity, it's a job. I need someone trustworthy." Monica blinked. "What?" "I live alone in a big house. I've always wanted someone to take care of things, organize, maybe cook. Nothing complicated." He paused. "And you could bring the girls. There's plenty of space." Monica's heart raced. It seemed too good to be true. "But you don't even know me." "I know enough. You're a mother who would do anything for her daughters. That tells me everything about your character. How much would you pay?" He mentioned a figure that was almost double what she made at her previous job. Monica hid her shock. "I don't want pity, just a job," she said, trying to maintain her dignity. Ryan smiled. "That's exactly what I'm offering. A job. With conditions that recognize you're a mother, not just an employee." Emma tugged on her mother's sleeve. "Mommy, can I have more chocolate?" "Of course, sweetie." Claire had stopped shivering and was playing with a napkin. The fever was still there, but they were definitely doing better. "When do you need an answer?" Monica asked. "You don't have to decide now. If you want, you can start tomorrow." He took a card from his wallet and wrote something on the back. "This is my address. If you decide to accept, show up at 9. If not, I'll understand." Monica took the card. Ryan Sinclair. "Yeah, a bit pretentious," he said with a smile. "That's not it. It's just, why are you doing this?" "For a stranger." Ryan turned serious. "Maybe because everyone deserves a second chance, and maybe because I know what it's like to feel alone." There was something in his voice that made Monica suspect he had his own stories. Emma yawned, and Claire rested her head on her mother's arm. The warmth and the medicine were taking effect. "I think they need to rest," Monica said. "Let me give you a ride." "You don't have to—" "Monica," Ryan interrupted gently, "accept the help, for them." She looked at her sleepy daughters and agreed. The drive was quiet. The girls slept in the back seat. Ryan didn't ask any questions about the simple neighborhood where she lived. "See you tomorrow," he asked when he pulled up to her building. Monica looked at the card, then at her daughters. "See you tomorrow." That night, after putting Emma and Claire to bed with medicine and blankets, Monica stayed up looking at the card. Ryan Sinclair. The address was in one of the wealthiest areas of the city. Why would a rich man make such an offer to a stranger? Part of her was suspicious. But when she remembered his eyes in the coffee shop, the way he spoke to the girls, the sincerity in his voice, Monica decided to trust him. Like he said, everyone deserves a second chance. And maybe hers had just arrived. Monica woke at 6 in the morning, as she always did. The difference was that, for the first time in weeks, she didn't feel that tightness in her chest when she opened her eyes. Emma and Claire were still sleeping soundly in the bed beside her, their fevers having finally broken during the night. She looked at Ryan's card on the nightstand. The address was written in a firm hand on the back, 1247 Maple Street, one of the most expensive neighborhoods in the city. "Girls," she called softly, touching her daughter's shoulders. "Time to wake up." Emma stretched and opened her light blue eyes. "Mommy." "Wow, I feel better." "Me too," said Claire, sitting up in bed and running a hand through her messy blonde hair. "Is the fever gone?" Monica touched both their foreheads. "Normal. It's gone. You're much better." "Are we going to the new job today?" Emma asked, remembering the conversation from the night before. "We are. But first, a bath and breakfast." Monica got the girls ready with special care. She chose clean, comfortable clothes, combed their blonde hair until it shone, and made a simple but nutritious breakfast. She wanted to make a good first impression. They took 2 buses to get to the address. Maple Street was exactly what Monica expected. Huge houses with pristine lawns, expensive cars parked in the driveways, the kind of silence that only money could buy. Number 1247 was a 2-story colonial-style house with white walls and a wide porch. The front yard was too perfect, as if every leaf had been placed in just the right spot. Monica took a deep breath and rang the doorbell. Ryan opened the door a few seconds later, wearing dark trousers and a white shirt, but no tie. He looked younger and more relaxed than the day before. "Monica," he smiled. "I thought maybe you'd changed your mind. I said I'd come," she replied simply. "And these must be the famous Emma and Claire." Ryan crouched down to be at the girls' level. "How are you two feeling today?" "Better," Emma said shyly. Claire hid behind her mother but peeked at Ryan with curiosity. "That's good. Come on in. I want to show you the house." The entrance was impressive, with a wide foyer and a curved staircase leading to the second floor. But what struck Monica the most was the silence. It wasn't just quiet, it was empty. "The house has 4 bedrooms, Ryan explained as they walked. 3 upstairs and 1 on the ground floor. The kitchen is this way, and there's a living room, an office, and a dining room that I never use." Monica observed everything with a professional eye. The house was clean, but it had the impersonality of a place where no one truly lived. Few decorations, no personal items in sight, expensive but personalityless furniture. "Where would you like to stay during the day?" Ryan asked the girls. Emma and Claire looked around, intimidated by the size of everything. "Is there a place where we can play?" Emma asked quietly. "Say, of course, the living room is big, it gets a lot of light, or you can use the office when I'm not working from home." Ryan quickly showed them the rest of the house. Monica noticed his bedroom was Spartan. A bed, a nightstand, a closet. No photos, no personal touches. It was as if he didn't live there, just slept there. "Well, I need to get to work," Ryan said when they returned to the kitchen. "Monica, feel free to explore, see what needs to be done. There's food in the fridge. You can use anything. I'll be back around 6. "What exactly do you want me to do?" Monica asked. Ryan paused for a moment as if he hadn't really thought it through. "Honestly, I don't know. Just take care of the house. Make it feel like a home." He left a few minutes later, leaving Monica and the girls alone in the huge house. "It's really big, isn't it, Mummy?" said Claire, her voice echoing in the foyer. "It is, but it's just a house. Let's see what we can do here. Monica started by truly exploring. The refrigerator was full of expensive food, but most of it seemed ready to eat, nothing that needed to be cooked. The pots and pans looked new, almost unused. The kitchen table didn't even have a salt shaker. "Mommy, can I draw?" Emma asked. "Of course. I'll see if I can find some paper and pencils for you." Monica found some office supplies in a drawer. She set the girls up at the kitchen table with paper and colored pencils while she began to work. First, she cleaned the entire house. It wasn't dirty, but it had that air of neglect that comes when no one really lives in a place. She opened windows, let the air circulate, and rearranged some furniture to create cozier spaces. In the kitchen, she decided to prepare something simple for lunch. She found ingredients for a basic stew and homemade bread, nothing too elaborate, but real food. While she cooked, the girls played and chatted quietly. After a few hours in the house, they had already lost their initial shyness and were exploring the spaces more freely. "Mommy, look what I drew," said Claire, showing a paper with colorful figures. "It's our new house," Emma explained. "The big one." Monica smiled. For the girls, any place where they were safe and together was home. The day went by quickly. Monica cleaned as organized, cooked, and took care of the girls. Around 5 o'clock, she was putting the bread in the oven when she heard a car in the driveway. "Ryan's here," said Emma, running to the window. Monica felt a pang of nervousness. What if he didn't like what she had done? What if he thought she had moved his things around too much? The front door opened, and Ryan came in, calling out, "Monica." "Girls, we're in the kitchen," she answered. Ryan appeared in the kitchen doorway and stopped. The atmosphere was completely different. The table had a small vase with flowers Monica had found in the garden. The smell of stew and fresh bread hung in the air. Emma and Claire were sitting on the floor of the adjacent living room, surrounded by drawings, talking and laughing softly. "Wow," he said, looking around. "This is—" "I hope you don't mind," Monica said quickly. "I just—" "No," Ryan interrupted her. "It's perfect. The house has never smelled like this before." He took off his suit jacket and hung it on a chair. Monica noticed that his shoulders seemed less tense. "Hi, Ryan," Emma shouted from the living room. "Do you want to see our drawings?" Ryan looked at Monica, as if asking for permission. "Go on," she said, smiling. "They're eager to show you." Ryan walked into the living room, where Emma and Claire had spread at least 10 drawings on the floor. The two were sitting cross-legged, their blonde hair shining in the afternoon light coming through the window. "This one is you," said Claire, pointing to a tall figure in a suit. "And this is Mommy, and these are me and Emma." "And this is our new house," added Emma, showing another paper with a big house and 4 figures in front. Ryan stood for a moment, just looking at the drawings. Monica watched from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Can I sit with you?" Ryan asked. "Sure," said Emma, "but you have to sit on the floor, like us." Ryan hesitated for a second, then sat on the living room floor, crossing his legs awkwardly. Emma and Claire immediately moved closer, eager to explain each drawing. "And this one is a dog," said Claire, pointing to an undefined brown shape. "Do you have a dog?" "No," Ryan replied. "I've never had one." "Why not?" "I never thought about it." "Everyone should have a dog," declared Emma with the wisdom of a 5-year-old. "Do they make us happy?" Ryan smiled. "Do they?" "Yes, and they play with us and sleep in our bed when we're scared. And they lick our faces when we're sad," added Claire. "It sounds like you know a lot about dogs." "We've never had one," admitted Emma. "But Mommy said maybe one day." Monica felt a pang of guilt. She had promised the girls a dog months ago, but with money being tight, it was never possible. "Ryan, do you play?" Claire asked suddenly. "Play what?" "Anything. Hide and seek, tag, drawing." "I don't remember the last time I played anything." The girls looked at him as if he had said he didn't know how to breathe. "You don't remember?" Emma's eyes widened. "But everyone plays." "When I was a kid, maybe," Ryan said. "But that was a long time ago." "So you forgot?" asked Claire, genuinely concerned. "I think so." "That's okay," Emma said with determination. "We'll teach you." She picked up a blank sheet of paper and some colored pencils. "Can I first you draw something that makes you happy?" Ryan picked up a blue pencil and stared at the blank paper. "Something that makes me happy," he repeated, as if trying to recall the concept. "It can be anything," encouraged Claire. "Food, places, people." Ryan began to draw slowly. It was just a few simple lines, but Monica recognized the shape of a house. "Is that your house?" Emma asked. "It is," Ryan said, "but it wasn't like this before." "What do you mean?" "Before, it was just a house. Now it has people." Ryan added a few small figures to the drawing. 3 people in front of the house. "Is that us?" Claire asked him, excited. Ryan nodded, and for the first time since Monica had met him, he smiled for real. It wasn't a polite or forced smile. It was natural, spontaneous, as if it had sprung from nowhere. Monica felt something stir in her chest, seeing that expression. There was a lightness to Ryan's face that wasn't there before. "Mommy, come see," Emma shouted. "Ryan drew us." Monica came closer and sat on the edge of the sofa, watching the scene. Ryan on the floor with the girls, all huddled over the drawing, their low, excited voices mixing together. It was an image she had never imagined when she woke up that morning. The serious, well-dressed man from the day before was gone, replaced by someone who seemed to be discovering something new about himself. "How about you help Mommy get dinner ready?" Monica suggested after a while. "Can we cook together?" asked Claire. "Of course," Ryan said, getting up from the floor. "What are we making?" The next 2 hours were a revelation for Ryan. The kitchen, which had always been just a place where he heated up pre-made food, transformed into a hub of activity. Monica directed the operations with a firm but gentle hand, giving small tasks to the girls and explaining each step. Ryan discovered he couldn't peel potatoes properly, that Emma had strong opinions about seasonings, and that Claire was surprisingly good at stirring pots without spilling anything. "Careful, it's hot," Monica warned as Ryan leaned over a steaming pot. "How do you know all these things?" he asked. "What things?" "Cooking, taking care of kids, making a house feel alive." Monica stopped stirring the sauce and looked at him. "Necessity, I guess. When you need to make things work, you learn." "I never needed to make anything work," Ryan admitted. "There was always someone to do it for me. And now..." Ryan looked around the messy kitchen, filled with laughter and good smells. "Now I think I understand what I was missing." After dinner, while Monica was putting the girls to bed in the guest room Ryan had prepared, he stood in the living room, looking at the drawings scattered on the floor. When Monica came downstairs, she found him still there, holding the drawing he had made himself. "They like you," she said, sitting on the sofa. "I like them too. It's strange." "Why is it strange?" "I don't usually connect with people, especially children." Monica studied his profile. "Maybe you never had the right opportunity." Ryan looked up at her. "Thank you. For what?" "For today. For making this house feel different." He paused. "I didn't know it was so empty." Monica didn't know what to say. There was a vulnerability in his voice that caught her by surprise. "Are the girls asleep?" he asked. "Yes, they were exhausted." "They were. It was a big day for them." "For me too." They sat in a comfortable silence for a few minutes, hearing only the ticking of the clock on the wall. "Thank you for today," Ryan said finally. "It's been a long time since I've felt so light." Monica smiled. "The girls have that effect on people." "It's not just them," he said, looking at her. "Think you made a difference too." When they said goodbye that night, Ryan stood at the door watching Monica and the girls walk away. For the first time in years, the prospect of being alone in the house didn't bother him, because now he knew that loneliness didn't have to be permanent. And for the first time in his life, Ryan Sinclair was looking forward to the next day. Monica finished tidying up the kitchen and looked out the window. It was a warm, late spring evening, with a gentle breeze that made the curtains dance. Emma and Claire had been asleep for an hour, exhausted after a full day of playing in Ryan's yard. Over the past few weeks, a routine had settled in naturally. Monica would arrive in the morning, take care of the house, prepare the meals, and the girls would play freely throughout the rooms. Ryan would leave for work and come back in the late afternoon, always eager to hear about their day. It was strange how everything seemed to flow so effortlessly. "Monica," Ryan's voice came from the living room. "Guy, don't you want to sit down for a bit? You've done a lot today." She dried her hands on a dish towel and went to the living room. Ryan was on the porch, sitting in one of the wicker chairs, looking at the garden illuminated by the soft moonlight. "Are the girls asleep?" he asked as she approached. "Like rocks. They ran around all day. Sit with me," Ryan gestured to the chair beside him. "It's a beautiful night." Monica hesitated for a moment. Over the past few weeks, they would chat during dinner, always with the girls around. They were rarely alone, and when they were, they maintained a respectful distance. But the night was truly pleasant, and she felt she deserved a few minutes of rest. "Just for a little while," she said, sitting down. The porch overlooked the backyard, where Ryan had installed a swing set for Emma and Claire. During the day, the space was always filled with laughter and games. Now, in the quiet of the night, it seemed like a different, more intimate place. "Sometimes I still can't believe it," Ryan said, breaking the silence. "Believe what?" "How much the house has changed, how much I've changed." He leaned back in his chair, relaxing. "Before I'd come home and the silence was deafening. Now you come home and Emma yells, 'Ryan's here,' before you even close the door," Monica completed, smiling. "Exactly, and I never imagined that could be so good." Monica watched his profile in the dim light. Ryan looked younger when he relaxed like this, away from the formal posture he maintained during the day. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Of course. Why did you live alone in this huge house? I mean, a successful man your age." Ryan was quiet for a moment, fiddling with a small leaf that had fallen on the porch. "I never really thought about it. I bought the house because it was a good investment, cars in a safe neighborhood. I furnished it because it was necessary. But I never thought about turning it into a home. And why not?" Ryan sighed. "I guess I never really knew what a real home was." Monica frowned. "What do you mean?" "My parents had money, a lot of money, but our house was more like a museum. Everything perfect, everything in its place, nothing out of order." He paused. "No laughter, no messes, no life. Didn't they play with you?" "My parents weren't the playful type. My father worked all the time, and my mother was always busy with social events, charity dinners, things like that. I had nannies, tutors, drivers, all very efficient and professional." Monica felt a pang of sadness. "That must have been lonely." "I didn't know it was lonely at the time. It was just normal. I grew up thinking that's what a family was, people who share the same space but live separate lives. And now?" Ryan looked at her. "Now I see Emma and Claire running through the house, screaming, laughing, leaving toys scattered everywhere, and I think, this is what I missed." Monica was silent, absorbing his words. It was hard to imagine a young Ryan, alone in a big, quiet house. "What about you?" he asked. "What was your family like?" Monica hesitated. It was rare for her to talk about the past, especially the painful parts. "My parents died when I was 19, she said finally. "Car accident. I was in college studying to be a teacher." "Monica, I didn't know." "I'm so sorry. It was a long time ago, but it changed everything. I had to drop out of school, work to support myself. That's when I met the girls' father." Ryan waited patiently for her to continue. "He was older, seemed stable, responsible. I was alone in the world, and he made me feel safe. For a while." "What happened?" Monica looked at the garden where the girls' swing set swayed gently in the breeze. "When I found out I was pregnant with twins, he was excited. He talked about how he'd be a devoted father, how we'd be a happy family." Her voice grew quieter. But when they were born, reality hit. Sleepless nights, double the expenses, real responsibility. He wasn't ready. He left, gradually. First it was overtime at work, then business trips, then he just stopped coming home. One day I found a note saying he couldn't do it anymore, that this wasn't what he wanted from life. Ryan clenched his fists. What kind of man abandons his own daughters? A man who never really grew up, Monica answered with bitterness. Emma and Claire don't even remember him. For them, it's always been just me and them against the world. How did you manage, alone with 2 small children? You do what you have to do. I worked 3 different jobs until I found some stability. Cleaning in the morning, caring for the elderly in the afternoon, cleaning offices at night. The girls stayed with a neighbor who charged very little. Ryan shook his head, impressed. You're stronger than you think. I didn't feel strong. Most of the time I felt lost, afraid I couldn't give them what they needed. Monica took a deep breath. Says there were nights I would cry in the bathroom so they wouldn't hear, wondering if it was selfish of me to have kept the pregnancy when I knew it would be hard. Monica. No, let me finish. I was afraid they would grow up feeling like a burden, that they had ruined my life. But then I would look at them sleeping, so small and innocent, and I knew they were the only right thing I had ever done. Ryan was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. They are lucky to have you as their mother. Sometimes I'm not so sure. I feel like I'm always playing catch-up, always trying to make up for what I can't give them. You give them love. You give them your presence. You give them stability. Those are things money can't buy. Monica looked at him, surprised by the intensity in his voice. You speak like someone who knows. I do know. My parents gave me everything money could buy, but they were never really present. They never made me feel like I mattered as a person, only as the family heir. Are they still alive? They are. We live in the same city, but we see each other maybe 3 times a year, always at formal events, always with other people around. We never really talk. That's sad. It was normal for me, until I saw you with Emma and Claire, the way you love each other, the way you connect. Ryan paused. I never had that. I never knew it existed. Monica felt a wave of compassion. It's never too late to have a real family. I don't know if I know how. You're already learning. I see how you look at the girls, how happy you are when they run to hug you when you get home from work. That's not something you can teach. It's instinct. Ryan smiled sadly. Funny how life works. You grew up with love and lost everything. I grew up with everything and never had love. And now? Now we're here on a porch, talking about things I've never told anyone. Monica looked at him and, for the first time, really saw him. Not the rich man who saved her on the sidewalk, not the generous boss, but Ryan. Just Ryan with his scars and fears, as lost as she was, trying to figure out how to build something real. Ryan, she said softly, can I ask you something personal? After everything we've talked about, of course. Have you ever been in love? Ever wanted to start a family? Ryan was quiet for so long that Monica began to regret the question. I've had relationships, he said finally. Women who were interested in my bank account, my status. I thought that was love until I realized that when the money was out of the equation, there was nothing left. That must have been painful to discover. Actually, it was a relief. It confirmed what I already suspected, that I wasn't interesting enough on my own. Ryan, that's not true, isn't it? What do you see in me besides the money? The question caught Monica by surprise. She looked at him, trying to find the right words. I see a man who sits on the floor to play with children, who learns to cook because he wants to participate. Who smiles for real when Emma and Claire tell him about their day's adventures? She paused. I see someone who is kind without expecting anything in return. Ryan stared at her. Is that how you see me? That's who you are. The silence that followed was different from the previous ones, more charged, more meaningful. Monica felt that something had shifted between them, but she didn't know what. Monica, Ryan said finally, thank you. For what? For letting me be a part of your lives, for showing me what a real family is. You're not just a part of it, Monica replied without thinking. You already are a part of it. The words came out before she could stop them, and they both fell silent, absorbing the weight of what had been said. I should go, Monica said, standing up. It's late. Monica, wait. She stopped and looked at him. You don't have to leave if you don't want to. I mean, you and the girls could stay here. There's enough room and, Ryan, not as a favor, as a choice. Your choice. Monica felt her heart race. The offer was tempting but also terrifying. Staying here would mean crossing a line she wasn't sure she was ready to cross. Can I think about it? Of course. No pressure. Monica nodded and headed inside to get the girls. But as she passed Ryan, he lightly touched her arm. Monica? Yes. Thank you for trusting me tonight, for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing yours too. As Monica gently woke the girls and got them ready to leave, Ryan stood on the porch looking at the stars. For the first time in his life, he had opened up completely to someone. And for the first time, he didn't feel judged or rejected. There was something growing between them, something real and scary and wonderful all at the same time. And for the first time in a long time, Ryan Sinclair allowed himself to have hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, he could have the family he never knew he wanted. When he heard the front door close, Ryan closed his eyes and smiled. Tomorrow would be a new day and they would be back. And that certainty warmed him more than any luxury money could buy. Ryan got home early that Friday. The office was quiet, and he had finished all the important meetings for the week. For the first time in years, the idea of spending the afternoon at home excited him more than working late. When he opened the door, he was greeted by the familiar smell of cake in the oven and the voices of Emma and Claire coming from the living room. "Ryan's here," shouted Emma, as she always did. "Hi, girls," he replied, hanging his jacket on a kitchen chair. Monica appeared from the kitchen, drying her hands on a towel. "You're home early." "I decided Fridays should be for important things," he said, looking toward the living room where the girls were playing. "Like homemade cake?" Monica asked, smiling. "Especially homemade cake." The weeks had created a comfortable routine between them. Ryan didn't know exactly when he had stopped feeling awkward coming home to a house full of life, but now it seemed like the most natural thing in the world. "What are the girls up to?" he asked, hearing excited whispers from the living room. "Preparing a surprise for you. They've been working on it since this morning." Ryan smiled. In recent days, Emma and Claire had developed a habit of making little art projects for him. Drawings, cards made with colored paper, small clay sculptures. He kept them all in his office, creating a small gallery that always made him smile during the most boring meetings. "Charles, can I go see?" "I think they'll want to show you first." As if they had overheard the conversation, Emma and Claire appeared in the kitchen doorway. Emma was holding something behind her back, while Claire smiled in a way that indicated they were planning something special. "Ryan," Emma said solemnly, "Mum, we made something for you." "It's a very important thing," added Claire, rocking back and forth on her heels. "Really? And what is it?" Emma looked at Claire, who nodded encouragingly. With a dramatic flourish, Emma brought the paper out from behind her back and held it out to Ryan. It was a drawing made with colored pencils, clearly the result of a joint effort. In the center of the page, 4 figures were holding hands in front of a big house. Ryan immediately recognized the depiction of himself, the tallest figure, wearing something that looked like a suit. Beside him, Monica, with her wavy brown hair, and on the ends, 2 smaller blonde figures. But what caught his attention the most were the huge smiles drawn on all the faces and the bright sun in the upper corner of the paper. "That's you, our friend," said Claire, pointing to the tallest figure. Ryan felt something tighten in his chest. "That's me." "Yes," said Emma, "and this is Mommy, and these are me and Claire. And look," she pointed to the house in the drawing, "it's our house." "Our house," Ryan repeated, his voice a little hoarse. "Yep," confirmed Claire, "because we live here now too, right?" Ryan looked at Monica, who was watching the scene with a soft smile on her lips. In recent weeks, she and the girls had started staying later, sometimes having dinner before they left. Some nights, when it got too late, Monica would accept Ryan's offer for them to stay in the guest room. "Do you like it?" asked Emma anxiously. "I like it very much," Ryan said, crouching down to be at the girls' level. "It's the most beautiful drawing I've ever received." "Really? Really? Can I hang it in my office?" "You can," said Claire, clapping her hands. "Then when you're working, you'll remember us." "I always remember you when I'm working." Emma and Claire beamed, satisfied with his reaction. "And now," said Monica from the kitchen, "who wants cake?" "I do," the girls shouted in unison. "Me too," said Ryan, standing up. "What kind of cake is it?" "Chocolate with chocolate frosting," Monica replied. "My grandmother's recipe." "Your grandmother knew what she was doing," Ryan said, following everyone into the kitchen. Monica had set the table with colorful plates that Ryan didn't even know he had. The cake was in the center, an imperfect but appetizing homemade creation, with frosting dripping a little down the sides. "It's not very pretty," Monica said, a bit self-consciously. "I'm not very good at decorating." "It's perfect," Ryan said sincerely. Monica cut generous slices for everyone. The cake was moist and sweet, with that flavor that only food made with love can have. "Mommy, tell the story of Grandma's cake," pleaded Emma, her mouth full of chocolate. "What story?" asked Ryan. "My grandmother always made this cake whenever I was sad or when we had something to celebrate," Monica explained. "She used to say that chocolate solved both sadness and joy." "She was wise," Ryan said. "She was. She also used to say that cake is best when shared with people we love." The words hung in the air for a moment. Ryan looked around the table, Monica smiling softly, Emma and Claire with chocolate on their faces, the drawing they had made for him still in his hands. "Can I tell you something?" Ryan said. "Of course," Monica replied. "I've never had homemade cake before. It was always expensive bakery cakes or cakes from formal events." Emma's eyes widened. "Never. Never." "That's so sad," said Claire. "Homemade cake is the best kind of cake." "I know that now," Ryan smiled. The rest of the afternoon passed at a pleasant pace. They ate cake, the girls told stories about their drawings, and Monica showed Ryan how to make little paper flowers to decorate the table. It was the kind of simple afternoon Ryan had never experienced, but now realized was exactly what he had always wanted. As the sun began to set, Monica glanced at the clock. "Girls, I think it's time for us to go home." "Already?" Emma complained. "Can we stay a little longer?" asked Claire. "You've been here all day. Ryan needs to rest." "I don't mind," Ryan said quickly, then corrected himself. "I mean, you can stay as long as you want." Monica looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite decipher. "Thank you, but we should go. The girls need a bath and tomorrow is Saturday." Ryan nodded, trying not to show the disappointment he felt. Monica gathered the girls' things while they said their dramatic goodbyes to Ryan, as if they wouldn't see him for weeks. "Don't forget to hang our drawing," Emma reminded him. "I would never forget," Ryan promised. "And don't forget us," added Claire, hugging his leg. "Impossible to forget you." Monica appeared with the bags, and they headed for the door. Ryan walked them to the driveway, watching as Monica helped the girls into the car she had bought with the first salary he had paid her. "Bye, Ryan," shouted Emma and Claire from the window. "Bye, girls." Monica waved from the driver's window, and Ryan stood in the driveway until the car disappeared around the corner. When he went back inside the house, the silence hit him like a physical wall. The kitchen table still had the cake plates, but without the girls' lively voices, the space felt too empty. Ryan cleared the table slowly, putting away the plates, wrapping up the rest of the cake. Every simple task reminded him of how different the house felt when they were there. In the living room, he saw a few colored pencils forgotten on the floor, a small toy of Claire's under the sofa. He put everything away carefully, knowing the girls would ask for them on Monday. He sat on the sofa, still holding the drawing they had made. 4 people holding hands, smiling in front of a house. "That's you. Our friend," Claire had said. Friend. It was a simple word, but it carried more weight than Ryan had expected. Friend meant they cared about him, that he mattered to them not for what he could offer, but for who he was. But as the evening wore on and the house remained silent, Ryan started to feel that familiar feeling creeping back. The weight of the silence, the sense of emptiness that used to fill the hours when he was alone. It was strange how quickly he had gotten used to their presence, how he had learned to anticipate the sound of the door opening, the voices calling his name, the laughter echoing through the hallways, and now, without them, the house went back to being just a house, big, well-furnished, but empty. Ryan looked at the drawing again. 4 happy people in front of a house. A family. Was that how they saw him? As part of their little family? The thought both warmed him and saddened him. Warmed him because he had never been part of something like that. Saddened him because he didn't know if it was real or just the fantasy of 2 children who had been kind enough to include him in their world. He got up and went to his office, where he hung the drawing on the wall next to the others that Emma and Claire had made for him. His little museum of children's art, colorful and imperfect and more valuable to him than any expensive piece he owned. When he returned to the living room, the loneliness weighed on him again. He turned on the television, but the sound seemed artificial after the lively dinner conversation. He tried to read but couldn't concentrate. Finally, he went to bed, but it took him a long time to fall asleep. The house was too quiet, too empty. For the first time since Monica and the girls had entered his life, Ryan realized how profoundly they had changed, not just his routine, but his perception of what it meant to be home. And for the first time, he truly understood what it was to miss someone. Missing the voices that called his name with joy, missing the little hands that reached out to him, missing the genuine smiles and spontaneous hugs, missing a family that, for a few wonderful hours, had been his. And as he stared at the ceiling in the dark, Ryan realized he didn't want to live without them anymore. He could no longer imagine his life going back to what it was before. Something had changed irreversibly, and there was no going back. On Monday, they would be back, but Monday seemed a long way off. Ryan sat in the armchair in the living room, still wearing his work clothes but with his tie loosened. In his hand, he held the drawing that Emma and Claire had made for him. 4 figures holding hands, 4 smiles drawn with colored pencils, a house in the background. "That's you, our friend." Claire's words echoed in his mind, friend. To 2 5-year-old children, that word meant someone important, someone they wanted around. The silence of the house weighed on him, the expensive furniture, the impeccable decor. Everything was as it had always been. But something had fundamentally changed. He had changed. Ryan walked to the window that overlooked the garden. The area where he had installed the swing set for the girls was dark, but he could picture Emma and Claire playing there during the day. "Ryan, push us." "Ryan, are you coming to play with us?" Always including him, always wanting his attention, his company. Not because he had money, but simply because they liked him. When was the last time someone had liked him just for who he was? Ryan returned to the armchair, studying every detail of the drawing. The girls' blonde hair, Monica's simple dress, the suit they always saw him wearing. But most of all, the joined hands, all connected, all together, a family. He had grown up in a house 3 times bigger than this one, with everything money could buy. But there were never drawings on the fridge. There was never laughter in the hallways. There was never someone shouting, "Daddy's home," when he came back from school. His childhood had been silent, organized, efficient. His parents provided everything materially but were clueless about his feelings. Formal dinners, conversations about business, expectations for his future, love, affection, intimacy. Those were words that didn't exist in the Sinclair family vocabulary. Ryan remembered when he was 8 and had drawn a picture of his family at school. When he got home, excited to show it, he found his parents in the study discussing investments. "Dad, look what I made." "Not now, Ryan, we're busy." "But it's a drawing of our family." His mother had glanced at it briefly. "Very nice, dear. Leave it with Martha so she can put it away." The drawing had disappeared by the next day, probably thrown away. Now at 30, Ryan held another family drawing, but this time, someone had cared about his reaction. Emma and Claire had waited anxiously to see if he would like it, and he had kept it. He had hung it on the wall alongside all the others they made. Why? Because he finally understood the value of being included, of being wanted, of being part of something bigger. Ryan closed his eyes and replayed the last few months. The first time Emma had called him by his name. The first time Claire had run to hug him. The first time Monica had genuinely smiled. Every small moment had built something he didn't know was missing. Family wasn't just a concept. It was laughter during dinner. It was someone worrying if you had eaten. It was little hands holding yours to show you a new discovery. It was honest conversations on a porch. It was feeling like you matter to someone. I had everything, but I never had anything real, he murmured into the silence of the room. Now I know I don't want to live alone anymore. The words came out before his mind fully processed the thought. But as soon as he said them, Ryan knew they were true. He didn't want to go back to his old life. He didn't want to come home to an empty house anymore. He didn't want silent dinners anymore. He didn't want to work late to avoid facing the loneliness anymore. Monica had turned his house into a home. Emma and Claire had turned his routine into something he looked forward to. Together, they had turned his life into something worth living. Sitting alone in the darkness, Ryan finally admitted the truth he had been avoiding for weeks. He was falling in love. With Monica, but also with the idea of being a father to Emma and Claire. With the idea of having a real family, built on choice and love. He needed them in his life. Not as an employee and her daughters, but as his family. The realization was both liberating and terrifying. Liberating because he finally stopped fighting the feelings. Terrifying because he didn't know if Monica felt the same way. What if she only saw him as a kind boss? What if she couldn't see him as more than that? Ryan looked at the drawing again. 4 people holding hands. To Emma and Claire, he was already part of the family. But what about to Monica? During their conversations on the porch, he had felt a real connection. He had seen the way she looked at him when she thought he wasn't paying attention. He had noticed how she smiled when he played with the girls. Would it be enough? Ryan stood and walked to the kitchen, where he could still smell the cake Monica had made. He could picture how it was just a few hours ago. Colorful plates, cake crumbs, laughter filling the space. He wanted this every night. He wanted to wake up to the sound of little footsteps down the hall. He wanted Monica to wake him up with fresh coffee. He wanted Emma and Claire to burst into his office to show him new drawings. He wanted a real life, not just a comfortable existence. Returning to the living room, Ryan made a decision. On Monday, when they returned, he would talk to Monica. He would be honest about his feelings, about what he wanted for their future. He would risk rejection for the chance to have something real, because living in fear was even worse than living alone. Ryan glanced at the clock. Almost midnight. On Monday, they would be back. For the first time in a long time, he was eager for the weekend to pass quickly. He had a family to win over. Ryan spent the entire day at the office trying to focus on work, but his mind was elsewhere. The decision he had made the night before weighed on his thoughts like a constant presence. He had decided to be honest with Monica about his feelings, but now, in the light of day, the courage of the early morning felt a bit more distant. During his morning meetings, while discussing financial reports and investment strategies, Ryan found himself thinking about how to bring up the subject. What exactly would he say? How would he start a conversation that could change everything? Mr. Sinclair, his assistant's voice brought him back to the present. So would you like me to reschedule the 4 o'clock meeting? Ryan glanced at the clock. 3:30 in the afternoon. Normally, he would stay until at least 7, but today he had other plans. Yes, reschedule it. I'm leaving early today. The assistant seemed surprised but just noted it down. Ryan rarely left before 6, and never without a specific work-related reason. The drive home felt longer than usual. At every traffic light, Ryan felt his anxiety grow. What if Monica realized something had changed? What if she noticed he was nervous and started asking questions? When he parked in the driveway, Ryan took several deep breaths before getting out of the car. He could hear voices coming from the kitchen, Monica talking to the girls, the familiar sound that always calmed him. Today, however, it only increased his tension. "Ryan's here," Emma shouted as soon as he opened the door, as she always did. "Hi, girls," he replied, hanging up his jacket and loosening his tie. When he entered the kitchen, he found the scene that had become routine. Monica preparing dinner while Emma and Claire played at the table with colored pencils and paper. The smell of something homemade lingered in the air, and the golden afternoon light streamed through the window, creating a cozy atmosphere. "You're home early," Monica commented, looking at him with a smile. "Is everything okay at work?" Everything's fine. I just decided I wanted to come home earlier. There was something in the way he said home that made Monica look at him more closely, an intensity that wasn't there before. Ryan, look what I drew, Claire interrupted, running to him with a paper in her hands. Ryan crouched down to see the girl's drawing, trying to focus on the present moment. It was a drawing of a family, something that had become a recurring theme in Emma and Claire's creations. It's beautiful, Claire. Who are these people? It's us, you, me, Emma and Mommy. We're having a picnic. A picnic? Yep. Emma said you've never been on a picnic, so we drew one. Ryan smiled, genuinely touched. Maybe we can have a real picnic one day. Really? Emma approached, excited. When? Emma? Don't bother Ryan, Monica intervened gently. He just got home from work. It's no bother, Ryan said quickly. It's never a bother. There was a brief, meaningful pause. Monica looked at him in a way he couldn't quite decipher. Girls, how about you finish your drawings in the living room? Monica suggested. That way I can talk to Ryan about dinner. Emma and Claire gathered their supplies and left the kitchen, chattering about their plans for more drawings. Ryan stood by the kitchen island, watching Monica as she stirred a pot on the stove. There was something different in the air between them, a tension that hadn't existed before. Monica, he began, but she spoke at the same time. Ryan, They both stopped and smiled awkwardly. You first, he said. Monica hesitated, then put down the spoon and turned to face him. There was a vulnerability in her eyes that Ryan had rarely seen. I was thinking about our conversation on the porch last week, she said, her voice lower than usual. About the things we told each other. Ryan nodded, his heart starting to race. And I realized there's something I didn't say, something I probably should have said a long time ago. What's that? Monica took a deep breath, clearly struggling to find the right words. I've always felt invisible, she said finally, her voice almost a whisper. I always thought rich men would never look at someone like me. But you're different. The words hit Ryan like a punch to the gut. He took a step closer, instinctively wanting to close the distance between them. Monica. No, let me finish. Please. She looked down, then forced herself to meet his eyes again. All my life I felt like I was just part of the scenery. The girl's father made me feel that way. My previous bosses made me feel that way. Like I was useful, but not important. Ryan felt a surge of anger toward all the people who had made Monica feel this way. But since I started working here, she continued, you've never made me feel invisible, not for a second. You ask about my day, you play with the girls as if they're important to you. You treat me like I have worth. Her voice broke on the last phrase, and Ryan saw tears welling in her eyes. You do have worth, he said, his own voice hoarse with emotion. More than you know. Monica smiled through her tears. You made me believe that. For the first time in my life, and when I look in the mirror, I don't just see a cleaner struggling to raise her daughters alone. I see a woman who maybe deserves to be seen. Ryan felt his heart break and mend itself at the same time. That Monica could think so little of herself, when to him she was one of the most extraordinary people he had ever met, was almost unbearable. Monica, look at me, he said, moving closer. She lifted her eyes, and Ryan held her gaze with intensity. You're not just visible to me, you're all I see when I walk into this house. You and the girls. You've transformed my life. Tears began to fall down Monica's face, and she quickly wiped them away with the back of her hand. Sorry, I didn't mean to cry. It's hard to believe sometimes. Why is it hard? Because you're you. Successful, handsome, smart. You could have any woman you wanted. Why would someone like you look at someone like me? Ryan was silent for a moment, absorbing the depth of her insecurity. He realized now that it wasn't just him who had changed in recent months. Monica was also undergoing a transformation, learning to believe in her own worth. Can I tell you a secret? He said softly. Monica nodded. Before you came into my life, I didn't know who I was beyond my job and my money. I had superficial relationships with people who cared more about my bank account than about me. I thought that was normal, that it was the most I could expect. He paused, gathering his thoughts. But you showed me what real connection is. What it's like to have someone care about me, not what I can offer. The girls hug me when I get home because they're happy to see me, not because they want something. And you see me as a person, not as a status symbol. Monica watched him with full attention, tears still glistening in her eyes. So when you ask why someone like me would look at someone like you, the answer is simple. Because you helped me discover who I really am, and the person I am when I'm with you is the best version of myself. Monica covered her mouth with her hand, clearly moved. This is the first time I've admitted it, she whispered, that you made me feel seen, that you made me feel valuable. And this is the first time I've admitted how much you all mean to me, Ryan replied. They stood facing each other in the kitchen, the weight of their confessions hanging in the air. From the living room came the soft sounds of Emma and Claire playing, oblivious to the intense moment happening just a few feet away. So the girls will want dinner soon, Monica said finally, breaking the silence. Of course. Ryan nodded, but neither of them moved. Dinner went on as usual, with Emma and Claire dominating the conversation with stories about their drawings and plans for new art projects. But there was an undercurrent of tension between Ryan and Monica, a new awareness of each other that hadn't been there before. When the girls finished eating, Monica suggested they watch a movie in the living room while she cleaned the kitchen. Ryan offered to help, and they worked side by side in a comfortable silence, occasionally bumping into each other or reaching for the same thing at the same time. When they finished, the sun was setting, painting the kitchen in golden hues. Emma and Claire were engrossed in the movie, giving Ryan and Monica a moment of privacy. Monica, Ryan said, his voice lower. Can I talk to you on the porch? She nodded, and they went out to the space that had become the place for their most intimate conversations. The late afternoon was perfect, with a gentle breeze and the garden bathed in golden light. They sat in the same chairs as always, but this time the silence was charged with expectation. Ryan looked at Monica, gathering all the courage he had built up since the night before. It was now or never. Monica, he began, his voice firm but filled with emotion. You're not just the cleaner in my house. You've changed my life. I want to be by your side. And the girls. Not as a boss, Matisse, but as someone who loves you. The words came out in a rush, as if he had rehearsed them, but each one was laden with absolute truth. Monica's eyes widened, her hand instinctively going to her heart. Ryan, I know it might seem sudden, but it's not. It's something that has been growing for months. I love the way you care for the girls. I love how you've turned this house into a home. I love your strength, your kindness, your integrity. He paused, taking a deep breath. And I love you, Monica. I love you, and I want us to be a real family. Monica was silent for a long moment, tears forming in her eyes again. Ryan waited, his heart beating so hard he was sure she could hear it. You love. Me? She whispered finally. I do, with everything I have. Monica covered her face with her hands, her shoulders trembling slightly. Monica, please, say something, Ryan pleaded, anxiety taking over. She lifted her face, and Ryan saw she was crying, but there was something in her expression he couldn't interpret. I need time to process this, she said, her voice choked. It's a lot. It's more than I ever imagined someone would feel for me. Ryan felt a pang of disappointment, but also of understanding. Of course, I don't want to pressure you. I just wanted you to know how I feel. Ryan, she said, reaching out and lightly touching his hand. Thank you for telling me. For making me feel worthy of love. Her touch sent a wave of warmth up Ryan's arm, and he realized that despite her request for time, there was something in Monica's gaze that gave him hope. You were always worthy of love, Monica, long before you met me. She smiled through her tears. Maybe. But you were the one who helped me believe it. They sat in silence, their hands still touching lightly, watching the garden grow dark. From the living room came the sounds of the movie and the occasional laughter of Emma and Claire. I should take the girls home, Monica said finally. You don't have to decide anything right now, Ryan said quickly. I want you to know that no matter what you decide, you will always have a place here, you and the girls. Monica nodded, slowly getting up. I know. And that means a lot to me. When she went to call the girls, Ryan stayed on the porch, looking up at the stars that were beginning to appear. He had laid his heart on the table, and now he could only wait. But for the first time since he had made the decision to declare his feelings, Ryan felt at peace. He had been honest, he had been brave, and regardless of what happened, he wouldn't regret trying. Because some things in life were worth the risk, and Monica and the girls were definitely worth it. Monica woke up on Monday with a strange feeling in her chest. She had spent the entire weekend thinking about Ryan's words, reliving every moment of their conversation on the porch. I love you, Monica. The words echoed in her mind like a song she couldn't stop hearing. Emma and Claire noticed she was distracted during breakfast. Mommy, are you okay? Asked Emma, watching Monica stir her coffee for the 10th time. I'm fine, sweetie. Just thinking about some things. What kind of things? Claire wanted to know, always curious. Monica looked at her daughters, their blonde hair still messy from sleep, their light blue eyes full of innocence. How could she explain to two 5-year-olds that a man had confessed his love for her? How could she talk about the fears and hopes it stirred up? Grown-up things, she said finally. Nothing you need to worry about. But Monica knew that wasn't entirely true. Any decision she made would affect Emma and Claire too. They had grown attached to Ryan and he clearly loved them, but what if things didn't work out? What if she allowed herself to believe she could have this life, and then it all fell apart? The drive to Ryan's house was quiet. The girls chatted softly to each other in the back seat, but Monica was lost in her thoughts. When they arrived, she took a deep breath before ringing the doorbell. Ryan opened the door almost immediately, as if he had been waiting for them. There was a tension in his eyes that wasn't there before, a vulnerability that made Monica's heart ache. Good morning, he said, his voice a bit more formal than usual. Good morning, Monica replied, trying to sound natural. Emma and Claire ran inside, excited to show off new drawings they had made over the weekend. Ryan followed them with his eyes, but Monica could tell he was waiting for some sign from her, some indication of how things would be between them. Ryan, she said before he could leave for work, can we talk later, when you get back? Of course, he replied, relief evident in his voice. Of course we can. The day passed slowly for both of them. Ryan found himself glancing at the clock every 15 minutes, unable to focus on his meetings. Monica cleaned the house with special care, as if each task could help her sort out her thoughts. The girls sensed the tension in the air, even without fully understanding what was happening. They were quieter than usual, playing in whispers and occasionally asking if Mommy was okay. When Ryan got home in the late afternoon, he found Monica in the kitchen preparing dinner. Emma and Claire were at the table, drawing as always. But there was something different about the atmosphere, a palpable expectation. Hi, girls, Ryan greeted, but his eyes immediately sought out Monica's. Hi, Ryan, Emma replied. Look what we made. She showed him a new drawing, colorful and detailed for a 5-year-old's standards. Ryan moved closer to get a better look, but before he could say anything, Claire interrupted. It's our family, she announced proudly. Ryan looked at the paper more closely. It was the same theme as always, 4 figures, but this time there was something different. The figures were closer together, more detailed, and there were little hearts floating around them. It's me, Emma, Mommy, and you, explained Emma. But this time we drew hearts because families love each other, right? Ryan felt his throat tighten. It's beautiful, girls. Very beautiful. Monica came over to see the drawing, and Ryan noticed that she was moved too. Why don't you go play in the living room while Mommy and I get dinner ready? Ryan suggested. The girls agreed and ran off, leaving the 2 adults alone in the kitchen. Monica, Ryan began, but she held up a hand. Let me speak first, she said. I spent the whole weekend thinking about what you said. Ryan nodded, waiting. And I need you to understand something. It's not that I don't feel anything for you. It's that I'm scared. Scared of what? Monica leaned against the counter, gathering her thoughts. Scared to believe this could work. Scared that the girls will get even more attached, and then you'll realize you made a mistake. Monica, no, let me finish. I know you're sincere. I know you're not playing games. But men change their minds, Ryan. The girls. Father loved me too. Until he didn't anymore. Ryan felt a pang of pain seeing the wound that was still bleeding in Monica. I'm not him, he said simply. I know, at least my head knows that, but my heart is afraid to believe. Ryan approached slowly, as if she were a frightened animal that might run away at any moment. And what can I do to help your heart believe? Monica looked him in the eyes, and Ryan saw all the vulnerability she was trying to hide. Time, patience, and maybe we can take small steps, see how things develop naturally. What kind of small steps? I don't know. Dinners together, conversations, letting the girls get used to the idea that you're more than just our friend. Ryan nodded immediately. Anything you need. Whatever pace is comfortable for you. Monica smiled for the first time since she had arrived that morning. Thank you for understanding. But Monica, Ryan said, lightly touching her arm, I want you to know that I'm not going to change my mind. I'm not going to give up on you. How can you be so sure? Because I've never felt this way before. Because you've shown me what a real family is. Because I can't imagine my life without you in it. Monica felt tears welling in her eyes, but this time they were tears of hope, not fear. So? We'll try, she asked softly. We'll try, Ryan confirmed. Dinner that night was different from the previous ones. There was a lightness in the air that hadn't been there for days. Ryan helped the girls with their drawings, suggesting colors and shapes, laughing at their imaginative creations. Ryan, can you draw with us? Asked Claire. Of course. What are we going to draw? A family, said Emma, without hesitation. Ryan looked at Monica, who was clearing the table, and she gave him a small, encouraging smile. Okay. But you'll have to teach me. I'm not very good at drawing. The next 2 hours passed in a flow of laughter and creativity. Ryan discovered it was surprisingly relaxing to sit on the floor with colored pencils without worrying about dignity or appearances. Emma and Claire were patient teachers, correcting his technique and praising his efforts. Monica watched from a distance, washing dishes and tidying the kitchen, but mostly just observing. There was something magical about seeing a successful, serious man sit on the floor to play with her daughters. Something that made her heart open up a little more with each passing minute. Mommy, come draw with us, Claire called out. Yes, Mommy, come on, Emma insisted. Monica dried her hands and joined the group on the living room floor. Ryan made room for her beside him, and for a moment their shoulders touched. It was a brief, casual touch, but it sent a wave of warmth through Monica's body. What are we drawing? She asked. A house, explained Emma. Our house. But it has to have all of us, added Claire. Because now we're a family. The words hung in the air for a moment. Monica looked at Ryan, who had stopped drawing and was looking directly at her. Is that how you see us? Monica asked the girls softly. As a family. Of course, said Emma, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Ryan lives with us now. But we're the ones living in his house, Monica corrected. Whatever, said Claire. The important thing is that we're all together. Ryan felt his heart swell. To Emma and Claire, the situation was simple. They didn't worry about adult complications or past fears. They just saw 4 people who loved each other and wanted to be together. Can I talk to you girls? Ryan said, putting his pencil aside. Emma and Claire stopped drawing and looked at him with full attention. I want you to know that I love you very much, and I love your mommy very much too. The girls smiled, not seeming surprised by the revelation. We love you too, said Emma simply. And we want you to be our dad, added Claire. Monica felt her heart stop for a moment. Ryan looked at her, searching for her reaction. Claire, Monica began. No, Mommy. We already talked about it. Me and Emma decided we want Ryan to be our dad. He already takes care of us. He already plays with us. He already loves us. And we love him. Ryan felt tears forming in his eyes. He had never imagined that two small children could be so direct about something so important. "It would be an honor to be your dad," he said, his voice hoarse with emotion. "Then it's decided," declared Emma. "Now we're an official family." Monica laughed through the tears she hadn't realized were falling. The girls in simplicity and purity had cut through all her fears and doubts. "Monica," Ryan said, turning to her, "I don't want you to leave tonight, or tomorrow, or ever." "Ryan, please, stay, not as an employee, not as a guest. Stay as part of my life, as my family." Monica looked at the girls, who were watching the conversation with intense interest. Then she looked at Ryan, and saw in his eyes all the sincerity and love he had expressed in words. For a moment, all her fears returned. What if this was too good to be true? What if she was deluding herself? But then Emma took her right hand, and Claire took her left, and Ryan reached out his hands to touch the girls, creating a small but complete circle. "Mommy," said Emma, "what do you think?" Monica looked around the circle. 3 people who loved her, who wanted her, who made her feel valuable and seen. 3 people who had become her family in ways she never imagined possible. "I think," she said slowly, "that it would be very nice to stay." Emma and Claire shrieked with joy and threw themselves on top of Monica and Ryan, creating a group hug on the living room floor. Ryan laughed, a deep, genuine sound that Monica rarely heard, and she allowed herself to laugh too. "Let's celebrate," declared Claire. "With cake." "I can make a cake right now," Monica said. "I'll help," offered Ryan. "And us too," said Emma and Claire in unison. The next hour was a delightful chaos in the kitchen. Ryan discovered he had no skill for cracking eggs without spilling half on the counter. Monica laughed more than she had in months. Emma and Claire helped by licking spoons and making more of a mess than actual help. When they finally put the cake in the oven, the kitchen looked like a battlefield, but everyone was covered in flour and smiling. "How long does it take to bake?" asked Ryan. "About 40 minutes, Monica replied, wiping flour off his face. "Perfect. Enough time to finish our family drawing." They went back to the living room, but this time Monica sat closer to Ryan, not pressing, not forcing, just close. As they drew, the smell of the cake began to fill the house. It was the smell of home, of family, of belonging. "Monica," Ryan said softly, while the girls were focused on their drawings. "Yes, thank you." "For what?" "For letting me be a part of this. For trusting me with the most precious things in your life." Monica looked at Emma and Claire, then back at Ryan. "Thank you for showing me that I can be loved, that I deserve to be loved." That's when they smelled something burning coming from the kitchen. "The cake!" they all shouted at the same time. They ran to the kitchen, where they found the cake growing uncontrollably out of the pan, creating a smoky mess in the oven. Monica turned off the oven, and they stood there, looking at the disaster through the glass window. "Well," said Ryan after a moment, "at least we know it, Rose." Emma started to laugh, then Claire, then Monica, and finally, Ryan. They laughed until their stomachs hurt, laughing at the mess, at the absurd situation, at the perfect imperfection of the moment. "You know what?" Monica said when they finally stopped laughing. "I think this is the best cake we've ever made." "Why?" asked Claire. "Because we made it together, as a family." Ryan pulled Monica closer, and she didn't resist. Emma and Claire snuggled up against them, and for a moment they all stood in silence, just breathing, just being. "Mommy," Emma said eventually, "now we have a real home, right?" Monica looked around the messy kitchen, at the burnt cake in the oven, at the 3 people who made her feel more complete than she ever imagined possible. "Yes, sweetie. Now we have a real home." And for the first time in her life, Monica understood that a real home wasn't a place. It wasn't walls or furniture or even a beautiful house. A real home is born when someone makes us feel seen and loved. When we find people who accept us with all our imperfections and make us want to be better. A real home is where the heart finally stops searching and simply stays. If this story touched your heart, Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.